All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Hey, so welcome to the second weekly. I lost track of time. Live Q and A. I don't really have a rant to do today because I've been doing it a lot on Facebook lately. So I'll slow that down, but I'll jump right into Q and A because we only have 30 minutes, and I'm going to end it at 10 p.m. sharp. So uh, if you're watching it, you can just type your question if you're watching it live in the comments section, either on my Facebook page or on YouTube or Milton Talk. If you're watching the video outside of that, because sometimes people do watch parties, then you won't be able to ask questions in a watch party. So jump on over to YouTube or Facebook. And before I start, just a little plug. If you can jump over to YouTube and subscribe, because after the first month, I'll only be doing it on YouTube because it costs me a pretty penny to do a simulcast. So I will just move it to YouTube, not on Facebook, not on Twitter. So if you're watching anywhere else, jump on over to YouTube. So 31 people watching. Thank you. So I'm going to jump right in, start taking questions, ask me questions about anything stuff. I got some questions about COVID-19 today. It was kind of a conspiracy theory related, so I'm not going to repeat the question, but I do want to address that issue. Essentially, it was about lockdowns and it being not necessary and all that stuff. I have a chart that came across today, so I'm putting that up on the screen right now. You can see it. So you can see how COVID-19 hit European Union essentially before United States. You can see how EU entered lockdown pretty late, especially Spain, Italy, and France. They resisted for a while. And now you can see after they entered lockdown, you can see here number of cases started to drop until they basically flatlined and controlled the COVID-19. United States, which actually has a smaller population than EU, number one. Number two, their population is less dense than EU. And number three, they have a warmer climate on average than EU. So the three factors, that means they should have had an easier time controlling it. And you can see that not only did the situation in the United States got worse than EU, it pretty much stayed worse. So there were lockdowns in the United States that started to improve things. And then some of the states opened up prematurely. There were other states that actually went really aggressive, and then they opened up. And you can see, despite the summer temperatures, where it should be a lot easier to contain, the cases is skyrocketing, and it's pretty much back to the worst, very close to the worst case it was at. The other statistic there to look at is compare how Canada is doing and how some EU countries are doing compared to the United States, because Canada had a pretty decent, not lockdown, but lockdown of sorts. Some EU countries went really aggressive, some not as aggressive. But if you look at the number of deaths we had just today, actually, today's report, United States had close to 700 new deaths today. Again, given the rising temperatures, that should not have happened. Compare that to, say, Spain, which had a really hard time controlling this initially. Spain had 3 deaths. Germany had 9 deaths. Canada, which actually is behind, so Canada had COVID-19 later than other countries, which means it's kind of behind in where it is in the curve. Canada had 20 deaths. Now, every death obviously is unfortunate, but when you're dealing with numbers like 10, 20, that could be just, a couple of outbreaks and a couple of nursing homes. So that's still a crisis in those nursing home, but it doesn't indicate widespread national crisis, meaning it doesn't indicate that the nation has not controlled the issue. Right now, among all the developed countries, the United States kind of stands alone in COVID-19. And what concerns me is the Canadian economy is so closely tied to the US economy That means that the borders will stay closed longer. That means that the trade will be impacted longer. So I'm kind of worried about the economy because of that. And I really hope that Americans get into better, get into their senses and do a better job controlling it. So that's all I have for COVID-19. Let me jump back to the common thing because I know they're coming up. They do have a special president. I'm not gonna pick on him today. Twitter is when I pick on Donald Trump, so you can hop onto my Twitter feed for that. All the signs around swings were removed. As a rule, 5 parents. You know, I don't know why the signs were removed. I'll talk to staff tomorrow morning. Play structures, because of the provincial emergency order, the play structures are still closed. Splash pads are open, but the play structures are closed. So please don't use the play structures. I'll make sure that I talk to staff tomorrow morning so they can come out and put the signs back up or close on a park because that area is still closed under the provincial order. Speaking of splash pad, I did get a question about splash pad. They opened up at 9 a.m. and someone asked if it was possible to open that at 8 a.m. because it gets warmer pretty early and because of social distancing. It's hard to go when a lot of people are there. Unfortunately, the answer is not right now. Staff actually monitors the splash pad before they open it up to make sure there are no broken glass or there are no issues and stuff. And because staff starts working at 8:30, it's not really possible to open them at 8 without changing that hour. So for now, at least, we're stuck at 9 a.m. opening time. Sign should not have, you know what? Sign should not have been removed. I don't know who removed the sign. It's possible that they got removed by someone other than staff. So I will find out. I have another question that was about cricket and team sports. So once again, under the provincial emergency order, and this is where it gets kind of weird. Sports training is okay, but team sports are not. So if someone's running a soccer training camp under social distancing in certain condition, under provincial order, they can do that. But if two teams want to get together and have a soccer game, they cannot. So I know it seems kind of weird. I think what the province is doing is trying to open up slowly so they don't go from stage 1 to stage 3. And so stage 2 is kind of this in between state where you go from stage 1 to stage 2 and then stage 3. So some of the decisions about stage 2 might seem arbitrary, but I think what's happening there is that the province is trying to make sure that we don't go full steam because it's really hard to step back. This way, if cases start to go up at stage 2, then the province can then delay stage 3. Fortunately, it seems like Ontario continues to do really well. So honestly, I think that some parts of Ontario at least will hit stage 2 in just 2 weeks. Hit stage 3 in just 2 weeks, which is an amazing news because I can't wait until at least businesses start to open up because I'm genuinely like I feel I feel terrible about small businesses that were forced to close down. I know a couple of restaurant owners that started restaurants just before COVID-19 and they didn't get rent relief from their owners. They are stuck in a really desperate and tight situation where they have expenses but they're not allowed to open, and now that patios can open, it's really not even covering their costs. So it's something that the sooner we get to stage 3, the better it is. For my money, the province should just decide and announce what the new normal is going to be, and we should just get to the new normal. Sorry, when I break eye contact, that's when I'm looking at comments, and I laugh because the comment came about masks. And as I was talking about COVID-19, I thought somebody was going to ask about masks. I've talked about it before. See, the issue with masks is that Halton region, the councillors made a decision, and I think it's the right decision. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I know it's the right decision. And the decision is that we're not going to make political decisions where decisions should be made by technical people based on technical knowledge. So masks being mandatory or not is a guideline that will come from our public health department, not from councillors. So once public health actually highly recommends masks, but they're not recommending making them mandatory for a whole lot of reasons that I can write about later. So essentially, where we are right now is once Halton's public health recommends making masks mandatory, the council will then move and will do that. Alternatively, Ontario Health can also make them mandatory, in which case they'll be mandatory Ontario-wide. But right now, the reason they're not mandatory is because that is not the recommendation of our public health. And once again, I'll see if I can find the link to the video. It was a council meeting, not yesterday, but a week from yesterday. So a week ago, Wednesday, where our chief doctor answered questions about masks being mandatory, and the video should be up on halton.ca. I'll see if I can dig up the video and post it on my Facebook and tweet it out. Let me go to other questions. This makes you vulnerable. The question is about. So yeah, you're welcome. I actually like doing this live Q&A because I think when you don't answer questions in public, especially as a public figure and as a politician, it allows you to kind of give one set of answers to one people, a different set of answers to different people. I'm not saying everyone does that. In fact, I think a very small minority of politicians do that. But I know that that does happen where I can, some politicians will tell you what you want to hear. So it's really important for me to do that publicly and do this live. And I know that it kind of makes me vulnerable, and I'm kind of comfortable with it. One of the things I've always struggled to understand is why it takes courage to make yourself vulnerable, because literally no one's invulnerable. So being vulnerable should be the default state. That's not really a bad thing. I don't really consider it a bad thing. Your Facebook post today. Man, these are different questions. If you guys have municipal questions, let's stick with municipal questions. But I will. I'll see if I can take this question. So I had a Facebook post today, and this person, and I'm not going to post this question, but this person is essentially, you can jump onto my Facebook page and look at my post. But the comment is that I should not have written that because it is beneath someone that holds a public office. Well, I posted it, so obviously I disagree with that comment. What I found is that, and again, I'll get a little philosophical. I find that it's easy to kind of self-censor your speech to keep it safe. And that keeps peace in the short term because it doesn't disrupt social harmony. But in order to bring about change, in order to bring a difference in really any area, you kind of have to disrupt social harmony. And that's hard because people say speaking truth to power is hard. I think speaking truth that disrupts social harmony is harder. And that's hard, and it disrupts the peace in the short term, but I think it's good for long-term peace. So if you think of any positive change that happened in society, from an extreme changes like, ending slavery or voting rights or really anything, they happened because some people spoke up about issue that kind of disrupted social harmony. So disrupting social harmony is not really a bad thing. In fact, on the contrary, I think it's tempting sometimes to not speak the truth to kind of keep peace, but that only keeps peace in the short term. It basically sweeps issues under the rug. So I think if you see a problem, honestly, especially when it comes to justice, when it comes to injustice, I think it's really important to speak up and not stay silent, because if you stay silent, in my opinion, you're kind of complacent. So I'll jump over to municipal questions. Let's stick with municipal questions because I can ramble on for a while. Thank you very much. I'm not going to post that question. Okay, so for indoor pools, only Sherwood is open. Yes, so right now, only Sherwood is open. Part of the problem, we'll see how Sherwood goes, and based on that learning, we'll open other pools. Another issue, and I'm going to speak generally, if you look at our community services department, it relies a lot on seasonal staff and part-time staff, and the staff, I believe community services right now is working at 20% staff as opposed to 100%. So that obviously has an impact on what services we can provide, but you'll see us ramp up pretty soon. I don't know if there's actually an official date for when Leisure Center and Sports Center will open up. And if there is a date, then I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's certainly something I can look it up. I see that you posted this question on Facebook. So I'll see and I have your contact information, actually. I'll just WhatsApp you the answer. So once I find out when they're opening up. Social harmony maintenance is BS. I actually agree with you. Well, you and I will get together, and I'm not ignoring you. This is your question, Mohammed. There you go. You see it. I'm just going over the list. So if you feel like I'm ignoring you, I'm honestly not. I'm just, clicking the questions and answering them. So I do agree. But back to municipal questions. If you have any municipal questions, because trust me, once you get me started, I can talk about random stuff for a long time. And I'm going to have a 10 p.m. cutoff time. So let's stick with municipal questions. I'm going to scroll up a little bit and see if there are other questions. You know what? I don't think you live in Milton, so I don't know, but I can tell you about Milton. Milton's actually in surprisingly good, and I say surprising because of COVID-19, there is an impact on a lot of municipalities, including Milton. But the impact in Milton is a lot lower than some of the other municipalities, partly because we rely so much on contracts and seasonal staff that we just did not renew a contract and we just didn't have seasonal staff. So we were able to run very lean, and generally Milton runs a very lean operation anyway. But there will be some impact in property taxes, and especially the regional level, because region does public health. And I'm hoping, and I need your help. I really need you guys to reach out to your federal and provincial politicians and insist that municipalities need help. There's help for individuals. There's been help for businesses, small businesses and large businesses, but we haven't really seen much for municipalities, and that's a serious issue. City of Toronto is looking at $1 billion potentially, maybe even more if it goes longer, or if some LTC guidelines or public health guidelines come out, because they all go in the property tax space. So my goal in life, and I actually chair Tana Milton's budget committee this year. So as a budget chair, my goal would be to keep it flat, because I know there's a hard time for everyone, but it really depends on whether the province really comes through with some help for municipalities or not. I know. Sorry, I'm just reading some comments and laughing because these comments are not really questions. Yeah, you're right. Toronto is like 1.5 billion right now, but potentially higher. Region of Halton is going to deal with a lot as well. And this deficit will really go up, Mohammed, because what's happening is that province of Ontario rightfully is putting some additional requirements on public health for masks, for testing. So for instance, Tana Milton, the camps we're running are running at a much lower capacity. Our ice time, our hockey and everything else is going to happen at significantly lower capacity, which means that even though our costs are same for running those programs, the revenue will be cut in probably a quarter. And so now we're going to have to pay 100% of the cost for 25% of the revenue. And the gap either comes from the property tax base or something the province will have to help. I know ultimately there's only a single taxpayer, but essentially what happens is that province of Ontario, the government of Canada, they can do deficit spending. Municipalities cannot. They can borrow money. Municipalities cannot. And they can tap into a wide variety of revenue sources, whereas we pretty much rely on user fees or property taxes. So that's something that I hope they do come around. Yasir, that is an amazing question. So this was something that was announced before the provincial election. This was something that was going to happen. Now the province scaled back the plan that was announced. I'm not criticizing the province. I'm just stating the fact. So the province scaled back the plans that was announced. I actually had this question recently myself as well, and I asked them the same question, try to get the answer, because I'm blanking out the name of municipality, but one municipality just announced that they're getting bike lanes, a new station, everything else, which Milton was supposed to get, but that got scaled back. So I don't actually know what the status is, and I'm curious to find out myself, because as you know, we're out of parking completely. And our station is old and sad. It does need to go in. University campus project. That's another one thing that the province of Ontario canceled. Again, just stating a fact, not criticizing, but it's gone. Now we're working with University of Laurier and Conestoga College, and we have a plan to do some public-private partnership to move ahead. Then COVID-19 hits, everything's kind of up in the air right now. I know Laurier is actually teaching some courses in Milton. Right now they're all online anyway, but once they're allowed to open up, they will be physically in Milton out of the Innovation Center. But we actually have a plan, and plan would have been announced by now, but I don't know what the status is because of COVID-19, to be honest. So at some point, Conestoga College, Wilfrid Laurier, and Tana Milton will get together and figure out what the next steps are. But I suspect that you'll see something soon. Our plan was solid. We had all the partnerships lined up, and I was super excited about it. And I still am. I just, don't have the timeline anymore. Okay. You know what? I'll come back to this one because I skipped a bunch of questions actually. Can people outdoor? You know what? That was actually a plan. So if you talk to our, it's something that's actually in a community services master plan. I don't know if any that's actually coming right now, and I don't have any timeline. And right now, because of COVID-19, some of the things are up in the air. But this is something that should, I believe that the Sherwood Community Park had a phase two where we're going to look at something like this, but I'm not 100% sure what the phase two timelines are anymore. So I'll have to look at that and find out. Uh, Milton is actually doing something virtual for Canada Day. So if you go to milton.ca, the information should be there. We recorded a video today. Pseudo excited about it. It's kind of we'll see how it comes out. But we're doing a series of virtual events. I think it should be up in milton.ca, but if it's not, then I'll make sure it goes up. Unfortunately, a lot of things will have to be virtual. I know that our MP Adam Vancouverton is doing his own thing where he's giving out signs with clean flag. I don't know if my sign arrived or not. I haven't been out yet today, so I'll go see if my signs are there. And if my signs are not there, and Adam, if you're watching, or if someone's watching from Adam's office, please make sure it gets here because a lot of people are posting the signed pictures, and I don't have one. Uh, I'm pulling ranks. Let's see. Yes, I'm going to skip that question. Are there any updates about? No. So I did share the chief's statement about that video, the incident that happened in Oakville. I don't have any update. And last time I checked my email was around 4 p.m. So if an update came after 4 p.m., then I don't know, but I don't have an update. There was no update until 4 p.m. So I know that the chief's investigating is taking it very, very seriously. And knowing the chief personally as well, I know that he holds a he keeps a very high standard in Halton Police, and I know that I know for a fact that he's taking it very seriously. Let's just put it that way. I don't have an update right now, but there might be an update in my email. I'll check. But as soon as there's an update, I'll post on my Facebook. I'll tweet it out, and you'll hear about it for sure. Yeah, man. I used to drive to Bronte Station. One of the things we discussed in the in the council workshop today is regional transit. That's one of the things that was in my campaign goal, and it's one of the things I was going to work on earlier this year. And then COVID-19 happened. So Milton councillors are all on board. We want to start talking about regional transit that connects, Oakville, Burlington, and Milton at least, if not Halton Hills. So at least these three municipalities connect with regional transit so people can move across regional boundaries. Because right now, if you live in Milton and you go to, say, McMaster, you really need to be driven to go park and ride lot. You can't just take a bus there. If you go to Sheridan College, you pretty much need to be driven to a Go Park and Ride lot and then take a Go bus or be driven to Sheridan. If you go to the Bronte Go station from Milton or Oakville Go station from Milton, you pretty much need to drive there. So those are the kind of problems that we need to solve. It's not just, I'm not looking at it just as a Milton Go transit issue. Something else the staff's working on, which was also one of my campaign goals, is a second Go station up on Trafalgar. We've had some amazing discussions about it, actually, believe it or not, even in the current political climate. So I think that's something you should hear about it sooner rather than later, because what it's going to do is going to take the new population growing in the east side, and they wouldn't have to come to the town of Milton. They can just drive further east to Trafalgar and take the train from there. There is another goal of mine, and it's something that's in a long-term plan, although it's not something we'll probably work on this term of council, is another GO station on Tremaine. So our first priority is a GO station on Trafalgar, but we do have a goal of having another GO station on Tremaine because a lot of Go riders in Milton actually come from west of Milton. They come from Cambridge or between Cambridge and Milton to drive into Milton, to park in Milton. It makes a lot more sense for them to park in Tremaine and take the train from there. But that's not something we're going to work on this term because we're prioritizing the Trafalgar GO station because that's our high density mixed use employment and residential corridor, sort of our downtown Milton. Aliya, any plans of extending Milton Mall? Actually, no. So malls are not really happening anymore. They're very 80s, 70s style development. And what seems to be happening is that developers have picked some key anchor malls like Square One and Yorkdale and some anchor malls, and they've poured a lot of money in those malls to really beef them up. And then a lot of smaller malls like Milton Mall, they just I'm not saying that's what's happening in Milton, but what's happening around us is that they're just converting those malls to other uses. So I'm not sure what the future of Milton Mall is right now, but there are no plans currently. Either way, it's a private property, so it's not something Town of Milton has an influence over. But what we have done is that we've proactively kind of zoned it for multi-use. You can go multi-stories, and ideally, what I would like to see is a multi-use facility where you have retail at the bottom, so you have like a couple of stories of mall, and then you might have hotel space or even condos or offices on top, or a mixed combination of those. Some of the councillors, myself, Councillor Ali, Councillor Cluett, and Councillor Melboff, we toured some projects in downtown Markham where they had done that, where they had movie theater, they had mall, and then they had hotel and offices all in a single building. We really need something like that. We need something very mixed use. So people who have stores and mall, they have foot traffic during the day and in the evening. So that's what we have done to make it easy from the public policy perspective. But ultimately, it's a private project. The land's owned privately. It all depends on what the landowner wants to do, what the market dictates, really. Show off. Nobody likes to show off. Okay, what's happening? Oh, Schlegal Village. That's good. So I totally meant to find out what the update was. There was going to be an announcement about it to coincide the announcement that was going to happen with Conserva College and Wilfrid Laurier, Milton Education Village, because that's where they were looking for the land. But with the COVID-19 stuff, some of the announcement got delayed. And actually, I'm not 100% sure, what the status is. So it seems like you asked this question on Milton Talk because I can't see who you are. That's what happens when you ask a question in the group. I'll find out what's happening. I know that it's one of the priority projects, both for the private sector as well as for Town of Milton. So I know that a lot of stuff was happening, and I know that everyone, including our provincial counterparts, were on board. But I'm not 100% sure what the status is right now. I'll get that. Ooh, we're going up to 10. We got to move faster. Louis Saint-Laurent between Bronte and Seveline Zomba intersection. Louis Saint-Laurent, Bronte, Seveline. Oh, yes. So that intersection, actually, that's an interesting signal. If you look at the south of that property, you'll notice some construction happening, not immediate south, but just further down from that. The developer of that actually put up this traffic signal, and they only turn it on when their trucks need to cross over and do that stuff. That's why you see cycling. But when they're not doing the construction, then the signal is not on anymore. If the signal is on and they're not there, then it's almost always because of pedestrian. Those are the only two situations where that signal should be on. So I know it seems really weird when you're driving by, there's no intersection and suddenly the signal's on. But if you look at the road, you'll see that they're tire tracks going in the middle of nowhere because they're flattening the land there and they're doing some work there, or you'll see some students or someone else crossing. I got caught by that as well because I was driving by, the signal turned red, like, what the hell? So I found out, and that's what's happening. The plus side is that the Town of Milton, was eventually going to have the signal there. We got it for free. Yay. Free is always good. All right, we're going up to 10 p.m. I know there are a couple of questions, but I really need to hold tight on time because if I keep going over, then nobody's going to watch that anymore. So if you have any last-second questions, there was no Costco coming to Milton, but thanks for trolling. I love it. University campus, we'll call it rapid-fire questions, really quickly. University campus is still on. The provincial funding got cut, but we have a plan to get some, public-private partnership going. So it's still on. The timeline's kind of up in the air, mostly because of COVID-19. If it wasn't for COVID-19, then you would have heard the announcement already. Because of COVID-19, I'm not sure what the timelines are anymore. We'll find out. I do know about the building permit expiry. I know that some things are up in the province's side as well. And there are things that need to be worked out. So I'll get an update. I'll get an update on that. I think there was an update that came out that I can't remember, but I'll get an update on that. There are a bunch of other questions, guys. If I didn't get to your questions, I apologize because so I should show the tool that I'm using. What essentially happens is that I'm broadcasting it on Twitter, my Facebook page, Facebook group, and YouTube. Eventually, I'll just do YouTube, but right now it's 4 sources. So when people ask questions in these 4 sources, the tools that I'm using kind of puts all the comments together. And sometimes it refreshes and suddenly I get like 5 or 6 comments, and I just kind of just scroll back and forth and look at them. I will not be able to get to the rest of your questions, guys. I apologize because 10 p.m. But tune in next Thursday, and the questions that I miss, you can ask them then, and I'll take it then. And I'll try to ramble on less, and I'll try to stay on topic to make sure that I take more questions. I really enjoy doing this. Not a question, but piece on racism. I like writing them. I write a lot of stuff that I don't publish, actually, because if I publish everything I write, I don't know what's going to happen. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. If you haven't gone onto YouTube and subscribed, then please jump onto YouTube and subscribe, because eventually this thing will only happen on YouTube. This will not be done on Facebook. This will not be done on Twitter. This will only happen on YouTube. So please jump onto YouTube, subscribe over there. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday.